And greetings, West Davidson Public Library viewers. We have a very special guest here tonight. JJ Johnson is joining us tonight from Durham, North Carolina. JJ is the author of 3 young adult novels, Believorexic, The Theory of Everything, and This Girl is Different. Her books have won numerous honors and have been translated into 6 different languages. That's so impressive. Welcome, JJ. We are so excited to have you here with us. So we already know that you're an accomplished author, but can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me, Sedley. I've just been excited all day waiting for this.
I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this all day.
Yeah, what else can I say about myself? Well, I'm the daughter of Juanita and Earl, and the wife of Noah, and the mom of Sam, and the friend of a lot of wonderful people. And I say that because I feel like relationships are a huge part of how I define my life and derive meaning in my life. So I usually start there. And what I do is I'm also a professional editor as well as a writer. And I spend a lot of time also volunteering as a restorative justice facilitator and a court companion for an organization in Durham called the Religious Coalition for Nonviolent Durham. So, and other than that, I like hiking and reading and being outside and those kinds of things.
That's really impressive. And Stephen and Kathy Landwehr, Joe Esposito, they all say hi.
Nice. Can you get on? Okay.
So,
Kathy is my
Virginia,
editor.
Kathy's your editor?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And Stephen is my critique partner. You know Stephen very well.
I know Stephen. Yes, I know Stephen. So, and AJ saying hi. Yeah, we have Tamika Brown. We've got a good crowd. And if anytime anybody has a question, just jump in and ask. But let's talk a little bit about your 3 books. Believorexic is about a 15-year-old girl named Jennifer and her disordered eating.
Yes,
The Theory of Everything is about Sarah, a girl who loses her best friend in a freak accident. And This Girl is Different is about Evie, a girl who decided to forego her homeschool counterculture lifestyle to attend her senior year in high school, all in the name of research. All 3 of your books feature young women and their very real struggles. JJ, what inspired you to tell those stories?
Okay, so
you want to start with one and
yeah, I'll go through them. I remembered to bring my books. This is Believorexic, and thanks. I'm reading the chat. This is making me so happy.
Yes, it's exciting.
It is exciting. Believorexic is a semi-autobiographical novel. So the Jennifer in the novel is me. I always say that my trajectory was kind of like this, and the novel kind of goes like this. So I consolidated characters and just made it more into a story with a storyline. But what inspired me to write this book is 2 things. One is when I was 15 and hospitalized for an eating disorder, I felt this sense of knowing that I would eventually be a healthy, happy adult. And I just knew that. But the landscape from where I was at 15 to that, it felt like a black hole in between. And I had no idea how I was going to get from point A to there. And so I made a promise to myself. I really did, that when I was a healthy, happy adult, I would come back in time somehow and hold my hand and guide myself through it. So that's for real. And that's really why I wrote the book. That's one reason I wrote the book. And the other reason is because I feel like there are lots of eating disorder novels, kind of problem novels out there. What I wanted to put out into the world that I felt was different was a real focus on recovery, because I felt like there were a lot of books about how to be sick, but there weren't a lot about how to get well. So that was Believorexic. And the theory of everything is it was really because when I was a kid, was 13, I had a really good friend die, and I really wanted to wrestle with real feelings of like, is life, can you derive meaning from life if something random can happen at any moment? Or does that mean that nothing matters? And like, to me, writing books for young adults is about dealing with real issues and never ever talking down to people. Never ever condescending to young adults, because teens and also adults read my books, but if teens can tell anything, it's hypocrisy and condescension. And so I never ever want to do that. So that was really what I wanted to explore in the theory of everything. It was originally called Random, and it was the first book I wrote. But This Girl is Different ended up being the first book published. And the reason I wrote this was, it's funny, it was like during Obama's second, his re-election campaign, and I felt like the tone was so it's crazy to think that in 2008, I felt like the tone of his re-election campaign was there was so much racism and so much like people were talking about not being able to have free speech and stuff. And that was like way back when. And so I really wanted to deal with the issue of free speech. What does that mean? Where does your responsibility balance with your like freedom of speech? And really, things have just gone snowballed downhill since then. But that's what inspired me to write these 3 different books.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, tell us a little bit about your writing process. Did you just, so you told us about your inspiration. Did you just put a pen to paper and it just magically happened? Or are you one that does an outline? How do you write?
Neither of those things.
Okay.
No, it's like, it's just a big messy process, and it generally I write about 50 pages or more, and then I go back and realize I have no plan whatsoever, and so it just kind of at some point I'll post a big newsprint on my wall and like try to organize it with post-it notes and stuff, but there is no process. Like, it is ugly and messy, and I hate it most of the time, and I think that I'm terrible most of the time, and it's just like, yeah. But my writing group really helps, because I was just talking to my husband yesterday and saying, you know, what I miss is my writing group saying like, yes, keep going, you're doing great. So that's really what helped
Steven's in your
me.
group, right?
Yeah, Steven's in my group. Yeah.
Roberta Ramirez Sanchez said, "Ha ha, magically happens."
Yeah, right.
Like as if. Well, I mean, I just admire all authors, and as a lifelong reader and a librarian, I'm most definitely a reader and not a writer. So it just baffles me every time I read a book that how it all comes together. But so 2020 was some kind of year, right?
Yeah.
And many say that the pandemic has irrevocably changed our lives, in some cases for the better, in other cases not so much. Has the pandemic shaped your lifestyle, and how has that affected your reading and writing life?
Okay, so I think we are like, my family in particular is in such a privileged position that it didn't really affect us. I don't know. I mean, like, I write from home, I work from home, so that was fine. My husband is in a clinic, a family practice clinic every day anyway, so that, you know, like
That did
that didn't change, although it got scarier. And my son is pretty introverted, so like, unlike, I think this has been what this pandemic has done for me is really underscore so many concerns about inequalities and how inequitable the pandemic is, our healthcare system is. I mean, like, all of that. It just shines such a bright light on that. And it's also deepened my concerns about people's willingness to believe conspiracy theories and lies and those kinds of things. So, like, in those ways, that's how I feel like the pandemic has affected me the most, except for getting, like, my whole family got COVID in December, so that was crazy. But we're all okay, and we were super
good.
fortunate in terms of how we fared. I mean, I think I read all the time anyway, so I don't think it, you know, I don't
That's
think it has changed that I don't go to the library, which makes me so sad. Or the bookshop.
mm-hmm.
Oh, or the coffee shop. Yes, my husband just, yes, it is
That
harder
was
to write.
probably part of your daily or weekly
Yeah,
life.
so I usually write at a coffee shop, and that is
Mm-hmm.
different. It's hard. It is a little harder to write at home, but yeah.
It is definitely really pivoted the way that we serve the public in the library. And one
Yeah.
is we've had an author chat nearly every month since last summer. And all of our programming is virtual, and we're finding new and different ways to reach out.
Well, and I'm
Um,
really grateful for that, sadly, because there are folks on this chat who, like, are deeply making me happy that they're here. And usually author events, like, if you don't live in town, you're not coming to them. So that's pretty cool. Yeah.
I can say that has been a real bonus for us. One of our librarians does story times, and she'd put together this cute program, and you might have 5 or 10 people that show. And now she's curating her videos and really and editing them and putting music to it, and and it might be seen hundreds, and some of our videos have been viewed a thousand
That's
thousand or
really
more
cool.
times. So
That's really
it's
cool.
definitely it's been a learning curve. But so is your coffee shop open yet?
Yeah, I think they're open. I'm
But you
waiting
don't go
for
out.
better weather. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're on the upswing there. It was a beautiful day today.
Yeah.
So I understand that you've told us that reading and writing is a big passion for you.
Mhm.
Tell us about some of your other passion products that you're currently working on that are literacy focused.
Oh, okay. So I'm in the author circle of Book Harvest, which is a wonderful organization here in Durham that gives free books to children, um, completely regardless of need. So it's just fantastic. And oh my gosh, they do such a good job. They go to laundromats for outreach. Like, they figure out where people are in the community and they do
They go
outreach.
there.
And so I'm just so honored to be a part of that organization. And I love it when I can just show up and, like, help sort books and just be with book people. So that, yay to Book Harvest is right. So that's one of the things I do. And then we have a little free library out in front of our house. And that's always just super fun. And I was able to make, like, a bigger one this year. It's like triple the size. And I was just saying to my son yesterday, it feels like, or my son was pointing out, it feels like families are, like, coming to the library and then going back. Like, it's a destination. It's becoming a destination, which is just so super fun. Yeah.
It's a regular stop. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. We have somebody that's joining us from Sacramento. So
Yay.
that's great. And so Book Harvest, what is the website that if
I
people want to,
I
do you
think it's
know?
bookharvest.org, maybe.
Okay.
I'm
Oh,
not sure.
we can put that in the notes after, but
Yeah.
and the little free library. Maybe we can put a link to that so folks can learn more about
Yeah,
the little free
anybody can
library.
build one and put it in your yard or your apartment building or anything. It's such a blessing. It's so much fun. It's so
Yes,
fun to see what people drop off and pick up. Yeah.
that's wonderful. So, so tell us about when you were younger. What were some of your favorite books and authors?
Well, okay, so I'm 47, so I'm fully Gen X, and I will tell
I'm
you that
50, so
yay,
we probably read a lot of the same books, I would have
we
to say.
did. So a lot of Judy Blume.
Yep.
Yes. And my dad and I used to read every Beverly Cleary book together. We would take
Yes.
turns reading chapters. I know it
Oh,
makes
that's
me
so
want to cry.
sweet. Yeah.
And that's part of how I learned to read, really, was like, I am gonna cry. And
Oh.
I loved Daniel Pinkwater. So some people just have never heard of him, but he wrote
Mm-mm.
Yob Gorgle and Alan Mendelsohn, The Boy from Mars, and just these like very strange books that my dad and I also read together. And I really loved Daniel Pinkwater and a bunch of Madeline L'Engle as well. Uh, and I have to say that my school librarians had a huge impact on me. And my elementary school librarian, her name was Mrs. Thornton. God bless her. She just loved books, and she also loved young writers. And so part of her deal was if you wrote a book, she would help you edit it and make sure it met her editorial standards, and then she would shelve it, and she would put a little sticker, and she would, I mean, it would be on the shelves, books. And so she was really my first publisher, and just bless her. And then I just had wonderful middle school and high school librarians. So the library has, I don't even remember your question, but I'm just going on and on. Like, the library has always been such a special place for me.
And me too. I
Yeah,
think I think my fate was sealed in the fourth grade when I made spine labels and little checkout cards for my personal library.
I
So
did the
yeah,
same thing on
did
my
you
front porch.
really? Did you really? Oh
Yes,
my
I
goodness.
swear I did. Yes, and my beloved neighbors, bless them, would come and like check out a book.
Check out your books.
Yeah,
Oh wow, that's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
So as an adult, like what's your favorite age group? I mean, are you write for young adult? Is that your
Hmm.
favorite age group to read, or do you read adult fiction?
No, I don't read very much young adult fiction, to be honest.
Huh.
I used to, because I used to feel like I had to for my job. And then it just, I think there is wonderful young adult fiction. It is not a commentary on young adult fiction, it's a commentary on my insecurities and like comparison. I was like, there's a saying that comparison is the thief of joy. And I was
Yes,
realizing that I was spending so much time comparing
your
you
work
know
to other
yeah, myself to
adult
others, that
authors.
I just was like, you know what, no. So mostly what I read, honestly, is nonfiction. I read just a
Oh,
ton of nonfiction, and then I read novels, but the vast majority is nonfiction at this point.
my favorite age group, and Stephen can attest to this, is middle grade, so like 8 to 12.
Yeah.
um,
Yes. Well,
and I
yeah,
just
and I used to read a ton with my son, but he more is reading, you know, he's reading YA. Well, he listens to audiobooks because he has
yes.
dyslexia. So a lot of YA fantasy, and he kind of fills me in on what's going on. Yeah,
Well, I'm usually listening to one and reading one, and then one on my
me
desk
too.
at work. And yeah,
Yeah,
so I've always got a few irons in the fire.
yeah.
Um, so do you have anything on your nightstand now?
I have like 10 books on my nightstand right
Yeah,
now.
me too.
What do I have? Let me think. Okay, so I have a Kindle because it's a hand-me-down from my dad. I try not to
Hmm.
support Amazon, but in the pandemic, the Kindle has been wonderful for getting library books.
Yes,
And I
yes.
believe I have a Star Wars book, a Star Wars novel on the Kindle right now. I don't believe it. I know it because
Okay.
that's also great for reading when my husband is asleep and it's like 4 a.m. and I can't sleep. So I do that. What else? I have a Willa Cather novel that my son is reading for high school that I like to read when I
With
can. I
him.
like to read what he's reading. And then some stuff about restorative justice, some really excellent books about restorative justice that I'm reading right now. One is called Until We Reckon, and another, yeah, there. And then some other stuff about the history of conspiracy theories in the U.S. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of nonfiction that's coming out right now, and it's kind of
Yes,
hard to sift. It's a lot to sift through. And I
it
purchase all the
is.
books for our library each month, and it's like, wow, they're coming at you so fast, especially
Yeah,
in the last couple years.
there's a lot of really good stuff. Like Cast
Yeah.
is one of the best books I've read in a long time.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Isabel, um,
Um,
not Walker. Is it Walker? Isabel. Okay. Yeah, but Cast and
yeah.
I've also read that one as well.
Yeah.
Have you read Hidden Valley Road?
No.
Oh, you're going to have to check that one out. And
Okay.
it's about a family, a Catholic family that had 12 kids like in the 50s and 60s, and 6 of them had schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
And so they were the first family that was sort of, they were like the catalyst for, real research because they had their own control group um, on schizophrenia. But anyway, that's a book rec for you. Well,
Wilkerson. It's Isabel Wilkerson.
Isabel Wilkerson. Isabel
Thank you,
Wilkerson.
Susan.
What did I say? I can't
I don't
remember.
remember.
Yeah. Oh, and Roz, she liked Hidden Valley Road as well. Roberta Ramirez Sanchez says, have you ever read any Latinx literature?
I have not a ton though. Yeah. Yep.
I try to read the rainbow. I try to read all different age
Yes,
groups, so
absolutely.
forth.
Yeah.
My favorite, and we did an author chat because now I'm going off script. But to Roz's question, um, uh, A Friend Divided by Ernesto Cisneros, and he
Oh,
won the
no.
Flora Bell Prey Award. And it was an honor book this past year, and I read it when it came out last summer, last summer. And when I read it, I was like, this guy's going to win some awards. And he had friended me on Facebook, and I reached out, and sure enough, he came in. We did an author chat, and he won some. But that was probably my favorite book last year.
That's awesome. You know what?
Yeah.
One of my favorite books last year was called Such a Fun Age. Have you read?
Yes.
It was
Yes.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll have to put in the link for the restorative justice books.
I will. Amanda,
Okay.
I'll catch up with you.
And Roberta says Reign of Gold by Victor Villaseñor is a really great narrative book.
Okay.
Oh, hey, Teresa. So let's see. Well, Wendy's got a good question for you, but we're going to save that one till the end. Do you have a particular favorite passage that you'd like to read for us?
Sure. I'll read
Okay.
a quick one. I marked it somewhere. It's from Believorexic. And this is actually one of the scenes I always think of when I think of Believorexic. I think of Dr. Prakash. She was my psychiatrist I've changed her name. But she's talking about perfectionism. So this is a session with Dr. Prakash. And she says, Dr. Prakash tapped her. I can't read my writing because I made a note to myself about where we are. Okay. Dr. Prakash tapped her cigarette. She said, but if we idealize people, we also create a wide space between ideal and not ideal. I really want you to think about this because I believe you do this to yourself too. What? Jennifer said, I definitely do not think I'm perfect. When we are perfectionists, we idealize ourselves. You are making yourself stand on the head of a pin. It is a grueling balancing act. You do not allow yourself to make any false moves or any mistakes. You have no freedom. You must earn top grades or you will fall off the pin. You must be liked by every single person or you fall off the pin. You must maintain a low weight or you fall off the pin. Jennifer, it sounds quite exhausting.
Mhm.
A sob shook loose from my chest. Oh, sorry. It changed to first person in this chapter. It is, I said. It is exhausting. I can't do it anymore. You do not have to do it anymore, she said. What if I told you that you can set both feet on solid ground and still be quite good at being you? How? I asked. By accepting that you are not perfect, nor should you be. You will be required to relax your standards a little bit. I'm saying you need to give yourself a break. Do you have me on the head of a pin right now? When I fall off, will we continue to be able to work together, or will all our time have been useless? It's not like that, I said. It's not all or nothing. Is it not? I hope you are right about that. She leaned forward. Jennifer, you must learn that recognizing people's flaws is a fine thing to do as long as you recognize their strengths as well. This mix of flaws and strengths, this is what makes us who we are. We cannot live our lives on the heads of pins. Sometimes we must aspire to be imperfect. Thank you.
That's really wonderful. So,
Thank you.
was that how you remember the conversation with your own therapist that
Yeah,
you drew
totally.
from that?
So I remember it like it was yesterday. She talked about standing on the head of a pin. As you can tell from this conversation, I still compare myself to people. I've gotten a lot better about accepting all the imperfections here and there, but it is just a lifelong struggle, I
It
think.
is a struggle.
But I also had I had journals from the time that I also went back to. So I that helped me remember stuff too. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And you just pour your heart out into your books. You really
I
do.
am an open book anyway. And so when it comes to my books, it's like, well, it's not like I'm not sharing it anyway. So, but it does make it I think it I think it does make it a bit of a challenge because it's like, here's my heart. It's on a
Mhm.
bookshelf. Like, but what else is life for but to share who you are? Like, that's
Right,
my
right.
feeling.
Well, this kind of goes back. Wendy had a question and
Hmm.
goes along with this one. So, what is next for JJ Johnson? Are you currently working on any new writing projects?
I am currently working on a new writing project that my editor and agent will be happy to hear that I'm working on something, as will my writing group. I have like 8,000 half written things in different
Mhm.
notebooks around, but I think this one's going to stick. And yeah, it's young adult. And I generally don't like give a lot of details because it's a little like a balloon that if I like talk about it too much, kind of some of the air goes out of it. Like my husband is sitting over there and has no idea what it's about. He can try to
Wow.
use context clues about what I'm reading. Like he'll kind of look at my and he'll be like, "What are you reading about?" Because he knows that I do research, but nobody. Um,
You kind of keep it under wraps
I
until.
do, and it's not like an ego thing. It's really like letting the air out of the balloon thing. But I will say this: it will be controversial, and it will matter to me. And when I talk about writing books, when I think about writing books, um, I have kind of I have a few different principles. One is never condescend, never be a hypocrite. One is first do no harm,
Mhm.
right? So I don't want to do harm in my books. So that means like not giving, like in Believorexic, like not talking about weights, not talking about techniques for losing weight, not talking about like details of purging, none of that, because I know well enough that a lot of young readers can read those things and really get, like read them as how-to manuals. And that's not what I want to be part of. I also don't want to tell stories that don't belong to me. So I was working on this historical fiction for a while. Like I really wanted to tell this story, really, really wanted to. And I could not figure out a way to do that felt okay as a white person. It just didn't feel like it was my story to tell. So I gave up on that. But this one I feel like I can tell. And I feel like I was going to say another principle. Oh, like be real and not like I'm not interested in not sometimes people are like your books are so political or like maybe you should back off on stuff and that's just not
You
that's
got to
not
be who
me.
you are. And
No.
I think that's what's so great about the freedom to read is if somebody doesn't want to read about it, they don't have to. But
Right.
your books definitely have topics that appeal to a broad audience. And I think that, and just because they're in the young adult section doesn't mean that adults couldn't learn and learn from them and love them too.
Yeah, I
But
think that half my readers are adults actually. Yeah.
well, that's great. That's great. I think we don't. You have to have a separate section for young adults in order for them to go in there. Because if
Yeah,
you
no,
put
I
all the
totally
young
get
adult
it.
books with the adult books, they're not going in that
Right.
room.
Right.
Um,
Do you know
but
what I
Roberta,
remember? Sorry,
hmm,
I don't mean
no,
to
go ahead.
interrupt you. But I was just having this memory, sadly, and you probably remember this too, like since you're about the same age, is when I would go into Walden Books, it wasn't called young adult, it was called sophisticated readers. Do you remember that? Like
I
that was
don't
the
quite remember
name.
that. Yeah, but
Totally.
some of the 80s, early 90s, some of that was kind of a blur. So
Yeah,
yeah.
true.
Um, but Roberta has a good question, and this is probably why I'm not a writer. She says, "How do you jump over that wall inside you that keeps us from sharing those innermost feelings in order to write?" And like you share so much of your own story in your books, and I'm terrified. I'm terrified to share those stories. Like I could not jump that wall. So Roberta wants to know, how do you jump over that wall?
It's not a wall for me. Like everybody, God bless everybody. Everybody is made differently. Like if I had to build that wall, that would be hard for me, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's just that it's not like I don't see it as an act of like courage or bravery. It's just how I'm
Just
it's
it's
just
just
who
how
I
you're
am.
wired.
Yeah.
It's just how
Yeah.
you're wired.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm wired to be a reader, so I'm looking forward to your next book. Um,
Thanks.
so
Hi, Avery.
so Avery fell in love with your books all the way back in middle school, and they're still close to Avery's heart after graduating from college last year. That's so sweet. You've got a broad fan base out here, that's for sure. So we have copies of your books available through the
Mhm.
library, and also I think I noticed at least two of them are available on Freeding through the NC Cardinal system.
Oh, cool.
So there's digital versions available. But if somebody wanted their own copy,
Mhm.
how do you suggest that folks find a copy of your books?
Well, I mean, I think everybody knows what I'm going to say. Like, I'm a big supporter of independent bookstores. I think that they are so important to a community. So, if you can support an independent bookstore, if you have the money to order online and go pick up from your indie bookstore, if they're not open or if they are open, either way, um, like mine is just doing curbside right now. That's great. If you cannot afford my books, that is totally fine. Like something that is super duper helpful is contacting your library through their website or calling up a librarian and just saying, I wish that you had JJ Johnson's book, The Theory of Everything. That means so much to me to have my books in libraries. So doing that is hugely supportive of your library and of me. So like, please know that that means the world to me. Yeah.
So we live here in Davidson County, and in all of Davidson County, there's not a single bookstore. anymore.
Oh, wow.
So my local bookstore is in Winston-Salem, bookmarked. And so what is your favorite local bookstores where you are? Or do you
In
have a few
Durham.
in
Yeah,
Durham?
in Durham, it's the Regulator is the one where I've had all my book launches because it's kind of the oldest one, and
Huh?
I've been here 20 years now. But I also love the Golden Fig, and I also love Letters, and we have a new bookstore coming. Books. I think it's like a coffee shop bookstore that is going to be owned. I think African American owned. I know it's going to be BIPOC owned, so I'm super excited about that.
That's awesome. Awesome. One last question. Stephen
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know who did the art for Believorexic.
Shoot, Stephen, I can't remember. Kathy can remember her name. They were having a hard time coming up with the cover. Shoot, now I can't remember her name.
Oh,
I
well,
feel really bad.
we can put that in the details after.
Okay. All right.
And so, well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thanks to our listeners out there. I see a lot of new faces here. I hope that you like the West Davidson Public Library Facebook page. Also, following JJ Johnson on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm at JJ Johnson author on all the things, and I'm gonna start a TikTok.
Oh, I'm new on TikTok. I do TikTok now.
My son is so mad that I'm gonna do TikTok, but I feel like my dance moves need to be on.
Yeah, they
TikTok.
have to be. You have to be TikToking. That's wonderful. I know. Yeah, I'm finally learning how to TikTok. So I want to, let you guys know, join us at West Davidson Public Library. We do about an author chat every month. We also have coming up in April, we have Joyce Moyer Hostetter. She's got a new book coming out. We've had Stephen before. Thank you so much for joining us. JJ, thank you so much. Support
Thank
your local
you.
libraries and your local independent bookstores. And and I hope to have you back when your new book comes out.
I would love that. And thank
Yay.
you everybody who's here. Like, I see your
Yes.
names on the side of the thing, and it's making me so
Yes.
happy.
So popular. Thank you so much. Okay, well we'll sayonara.
All right,
And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.